I'm starting this video off with a warning. It's a 20-minute long talk about class balance within Battlefield games. If you have no interest in class balance or a possible solution to it, stop watching now. Hello, so in this video I want to take a look at the class systems in Battlefield games. Now, we've had a very similar class system from Bad Company 2 through Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. 4 classes. Their roles have slightly changed. In the old days, the medic used to have the LMGs, now it's the assault class. And that's part of the problem with the current system. So I'm going to take a look at how you could fix it. 3 of the classes have fairly distinct roles. The engineer are vehicle based and anti-vehicle. You've got the support, which is mid-range fire and indirect fire, and you've got the recons, which are long range and spotting. The problem is the assault. With the assault rifles being the best weapons in the game, it means the assault class should be attacking objectives. But they're also the medic, and often they end up only being medics for other assaults. An assault who's sitting back with the support or the engineers or the recons really has no way of doing anything other than dropping bags and reviving. So here's my plan. Take the assault class and split it in 2 and give Battlefield 5 classes: assault, medic, engineer, support and recon. Now the medic class is going to need weapons and gadgets, so its primary gadgets are going to be taken from the assault class: medbag and defibs. Its weapons I'm going to take from the engineers. PDWs seem perfect for medics. They're going to be a close-in class, they're going to be close to the action because they're healing people who are in the action, and the PDWs, personal defense weapons, seem great for allowing the medics to survive in those kind of situations. To replace the PDWs for the engineers, I'm giving them the carbines. Carbines would no longer be a universal option, they would just be for the engineers. Most engineers are running carbines anyway, very few use the PDWs because of the lack of range. An anti-vehicle engineer tends to be at range anyway, and if you're popping out of vehicle then a carbine is pretty much as good as a PDW anyway. Now that we have 5 classes, we're going to need to give them gadgets, so let's have a look at the old assault gadgets. And it's a very strange combination. Why do you need the M26 and the M320 on the same class? Nobody really uses the M26 in any case, so let's remove it from the game. Let's simplify each class's gadget choice. Make it more focused and less sporadic. In that light, I'm going to remove a couple of the M320 options, the LVG and the 3GL. The M320 works fine as a basic grenade launcher. It doesn't need the bouncing around corners or the quick 3-shot option, so let's just make it a basic M320. Okay, it can keep the smoke grenades, it can keep the flashbangs, but let's also get rid of the dart, because that's not a grenade launcher. So that leaves us with a small selection of gadgets, but to be honest, none of the gadgets that are remaining I'm going to keep on the assault class. Medbag and defibs are going to the medic class. The med pack I'm going to turn into a battle pickup, and the M320 is going to go to another class. On to the engineers, and we've got a nice selection of rocket launchers that do a variety of jobs, but I do have a problem with a couple of them. I don't like the idea of automatically locking on fire and forget missile launchers. So for that reason I'm going to remove the MBT Law and the Stinger. What that leaves us with is rockets you have to be good at aiming, or rockets where you have to stand out and maintain the lock on your target. There's no more rockets where you can just pop up, fire and pop back again. Now we would have to make another Stinger for the Americans, but I would just reskin the Igla. It may not be correct in terms of real world weapons, but it would work. The next choice might be a bit controversial, but I would remove all the mines from the game. The anti-tank mines, the slams and the AA mines. Because I want the game to be more active. If an engineer wants to go out and kill a vehicle, then he needs to go out and kill a vehicle. You can't just throw slams and mines on the floor and hope for the best. The engineers would be keeping their repair torch because that's an intrinsic part of Battlefield, repairing vehicles or running up to enemy vehicles and damaging them. They wouldn't be keeping the EOD bot, but the EOD bot would stay. It would just be a Battlefield pickup from now on. And so we move on to the support class, and this is the most abusable set of gadgets in the game. If you look at this choice of gadgets, can you try and work out what the support class is trying to do? So this list of gadgets is going to be severely cut down, and the first to go is the XM25. It really adds nothing to the class, or nothing to the game. Yes, it was a nice idea for removing snipers from the tops of buildings, but that's not how it's used. It's fired into doorways like a grenade launcher. Next to go is anything that explodes. So claymores and C4 and the indirect fire weapons like the mortars and the UCAV. Now removing the C4 might be a bit contentious, but does it really help the support character support? No. It's basically turning the support class into a solo warrior. Yes, you've got a big gun, now you've got a way of blowing up vehicles, you've got a way of tossing around explosives like grenades, and you can reload it. Claymores have never really added anything to the game, and the indirect fire weapons just ruin some maps. So let's remove all of those, and I'll give the support class something else later. Things that are staying that might surprise people are the APS and the ballistic shield. But neither of those is going to stay on the support class, they're going to go elsewhere. The ammo box will stay on the support class, but the ammo pack I'm going to move on to a Battlefield pickup again. I don't really like the idea from Hardline of just grabbing ammunition off other players, but I did quite like the idea of having the ammo boxes and med stations, so why not use the ammo pack and med pack like that? Next we come to the Recons, and there are just far too many spotting gadgets on this page, so some of those are going to go, but the first to go is going to be the C4 and the Claymores again. Now for the Recons, these are going to be replaced, but in this form I'm removing them. I'm also removing the SOFLAM and the SUAV. The SUAV is just rubbish at spotting vehicles, so let's remove it. And I'm removing the SOFLAM because I really don't like these drop down and forget kind of gadgets that just work on their own. If you've got a gadget, somebody should be using it. So instead they're going to keep the MAV, which of course you can fly around and spot properly with. And they're also going to keep the motion sensor balls, so that if they do get close up, they have the option of spotting infantry that way. But they're going to lose their role of vehicle spotting. PLD is going to move to a different class, as are the spawn beacon and the tugs. So that's a quick look at the gadgets. Now let's take a look at the grenades. And we've just got too many in the game. M67 frag, V40 mini and RGO impact. Do we really need that many explosive grenades in the game? So in my version of the game, you're just going to have one standard grenade. Everybody gets one M67 frag. The incendiaries, smoke and flashbang aren't going to be removed from the game entirely. What they're going to become is gadgets for the assault class. You'd be able to pick one of those grenade types for your gadget slot, and it would provide you with two of those grenades that couldn't be reloaded. So now we've reduced the number of gadgets in the game, we've reduced the number of grenades, and we've increased the classes to 5. So let's see how those gadgets and grenades are now going to fit into the new class structure. So let's have a look at my view of the new assault class. And obviously they get the assault rifles exactly the same as they do now. But their gadget choice is completely different. I'm giving them 2 recon gadgets, the spawn beacon and the tugs. Now the spawn beacon is simply because it needs to be deployed in areas you actually want to go to. Not stuck on a hill miles back so the same recon can respawn in the same sniper spot over and over again. So giving it to the assault means it's going to be used on the front line. And that's the same story for the tugs. The tugs will give you enemy spotting in an area, but it's fixed. and in the system I've got, no gadget will re-equip from an ammo box. So if you want to move your tugs, you're going to have to pick it up and move it. And it's the same for the spawn beacon, and indeed the grenades that the assault can take as gadget slots. So if you take the incendiary grenade, it will give you 2, but you'll never be able to re-equip them from ammo boxes. 2 is all you get. Now you may notice that the pistols actually says medium pistol. I'm going to do what Hardline did and separate pistols out to classes. So assaults are getting medium pistols like the MP443, so pistols that do around 30 to 35 damage, and they're also getting their 1 M67 frag grenade. The idea behind these changes is to make the assault class the perfect on the point fighting class. They've got the ability to bring their squad up with them, they've got the ability to spot enemies, and they've got more grenade options. So they're still the best class for taking ground as infantry, but they can't heal anymore and they can't revive, so they have to rely on other people as well. The new medic class becomes the other infantry assault class. Now their weapons are the PDWs, and these are perfect weapons for defending yourself. If you get into close quarters, the enemy are around you, then the PDWs are great. But you need to rely on other people to get you into that position. The other way they can survive through those medium range engagements and get into position is with one of their gadgets, because I'm giving them the ballistic shield. But not the Battlefield 4 ballistic shield, the Battlefield Hardline ballistic shield. That means that when it's not deployed, it will be carried on the back and act as armour. When it is deployed, it will stop all calibers of rounds, it will stop explosives and grenades until it's actually destroyed. Another change that I would make to the ballistic shield is the ability to use the defibs behind it. So you can move forward behind the shield, use it as cover while you defib one of your teammates. The choice of pistols for the medic would be the revolvers. This would give them a bit of long range ability. Okay, I would remove things like the 3x scope from the Magnum, so they've still only got normal pistol sights, but when it comes to the crunch, they at least have some kind of mid-range option. Now this class may look very bare in terms of gadgets, but just think how useful the ballistic shield could be in Battlefield in its hardline configuration. You can deploy the ballistic shield with a med bag at your feet, and the other players around you can use you as cover. So snipers can use you as cover, engineers can use you as cover when you're taking on vehicles. And because you have the PDW, you're great if anybody gets up close to the snipers and engineers. You're also really good at following the assault players. The medic class has a lot of the advantages that the old assault class had, but because it's got close range weapons, it can't project damage out like the assault class can. Next we get to the engineers, and the engineers now have carbines as their primary weapon. It makes logical sense as all engineers use carbines anyway. In terms of gadgets, they've got the dumbfire rockets and the rockets that require you to keep a lock on or keep aimed. There's no more fire and forget. They've got the repair torch so that they can repair their own vehicles and that they can attack enemy vehicles with it. The surprise might be that they have the APS, but the reason I've given the APS to the engineers is so that they can deploy it and fire at vehicles from behind it, use it as anti-vehicle cover. When it comes to pistols, the engineers are getting the heavy pistol to complement their carbines. So these are pistols like the M1911, not the Deagle. They're the standard semi-auto pistols that do around 40 damage. Next comes the support class, and as always they have their LMGs. They also have the ammo box, but not the ammo pack, because the ammo pack is a Battlefield pickup. I've given the support class the PLD because it's a good support gadget. It allows you to spot vehicles and lock onto vehicles for engineers. It also allows you to spot infantry at a distance. So it's a very good gadget for the support class. Because I've taken away support C4 and Claymores, I decided to give them a different form of explosive. So the support class gets the M320. Now again, this will not reload from an ammo box, but it does allow the support class to take on light vehicles, destroy walls, fire smoke and flashbangs into buildings when the assaults are advancing. When it comes to pistols, I've given the support class the lightest pistols, things like the P226, because it's a small, light damage pistol, but after all they've got the LMGs. And finally we come to the Recon class, who of course have their sniper rifles, both the bolt actions and the semi-auto snipers. When it comes to gadgets, I'm letting the Recons keep their infantry spotting gadgets. So if they've decided to get in close and be an active Recon, then they've got the motion sensor balls. If they're wanting to stay at range, then they can fly the MAV. So infantry spotting is still a big part of the Recon's job. I've just cut down the number of gadgets they have to do it with. To replace the Recon's C4 and Claymores, I'm combining them into one and giving them a gadget from Battlefield Hardline, the sabotage charges. These are a lot less spammy than C4 because they can't be thrown around and detonated, but you can still booby trap buildings and vehicles, and of course you can place them and shoot them. So you've lost the ability to throw around explosives, but you've still got that explosive power and potential. In terms of pistols, then the automatic pistols are an obvious choice. I'm not going as far as giving them the machine pistols that they get in Hardline, but the full auto pistols and the burst fire pistols are just made to go with the sniper rifles. So that's all the classes. And what does it mean in terms of gadgets? So removed from the game are the AA mine, the Claymore, C4, the M26, the MBT Law, the Mortar, the SOFLAM, the SUAV, the Stinger, the UCAV and the XM25. These have been removed because they're either abusable, useless or just don't require any skill to use. 3 gadgets I've turned into battlefield pickups: the ammo pack, the EOD bot and the med pack. So the ammo packs and med packs would work exactly the same as they do in the game now. They'd just be lying on the floor at strategic points. You could run up, collect it, reload or heal, and then within a minute another one would spawn in the same place. I've turned the EOD bot into a battlefield pickup just because the raw worked really well, but its guns were overpowered. The EOD bot would just be a bit of fun. You could pick it up, attack vehicles, maybe attack infantry, or even just use it to repair your own vehicles. It's not going to be game changing, it's just a bit of fun. And there are 2 gadgets from Battlefield Hardline. Now the ballistic shield isn't new, it's just drastically different and better in Hardline than it is in Battlefield 4. So I think the Hardline version would work really well with the medic class, and the sabotage charge effectively does the job of C4 and the Claymore for the Recon class, but isn't as abusable. You can't throw it around like you can with C4. Here are a couple of changes that have been made to gadgets. So the ammo box will only reload primary, secondary and the M67 grenade. No gadget will reload from an ammo box. The ballistic shield would allow you to use the defib behind it, so you can revive in cover as a medic. DMRs and shotguns would still be a global choice for all classes. The reason for this is so that long range classes can take a shotgun and move into close range, be a bit more in the action, and if you're a short range class that needs to go out with the rest of your squad who are long range, you can take the DMR and join them and be useful. And a further design principle should be that there would be no cross-class gadgets. So you wouldn't get the situation like in Battlefield 4 where everybody can use the decoy, or that the support and recons both have C4s and Claymores. To make them feel unique, they need their own gadgets. And after all that, what we end up with are 5 classes that look like this. And I think overall we've got a much more balanced class system, and each class has unique features. There's no overlaps, there's no classes trying to do 2 jobs. The classes have been simplified and put back to doing the job they should be doing. Anyway, this has been a very long video. I hope you've made it to the end. Let me know what you think of this new class system and new gadget balance. Do you think it would work? Can you see what's wrong with it? Because when I look at it, it seems okay. maybe the medic is still going to be overpowered, but by giving them the PDWs, hopefully they're going to be less powerful than they were as the old assault class with the assault rifles. Thanks for staying with me if you made it to the end, and thanks for watching.